Hey everybody, happy Friday to you, March 28th, 2025. I've got all your stories for your rush hour ride to work. And I gotta tell you, I'm so proud of you. You made it to Friday. We didn't think we could do it, but here it is. So mail it in out there, put the podcast on, listen twice if you have to, and we'll get through this together. On today's episode of The Rush, we've got Golden Bachelor in Paradise getting rejected by Gary Turner. I'll tell you why he rejected it. Also, Luigi received love letters snuck into his prison. I'm going to share what the contents of those letters might have been. Also, Deal or No Deal Island. The finale was a couple days ago. If you didn't watch it, I'll give you time to I'll alert you when there'll be a spoiler and you can jump ahead, but it was a fantastic ending to season 2. Wild stuff. Also, Blake Lively tea. Someone online is saying there might be some new text messages getting revealed, and I have to say, for a pretty quiet Friday, this is exactly when some big bombshell stuff gets dropped. I'll share what might be in store. Plus, Greenland. I mean, come on, right? Sometimes you just gotta know when they don't want you. Greenland keeps on saying, no, please, we're not interested. And like Pepe Le Pew, we are over there saying, but come on, we need you. So sometimes they're just not that into you. I'll share the update there. And a Tufts update. The student that was kidnapped in broad daylight by ICE agents. Now we have her friends speaking out. And we've also got protests happening on campus to the deportation of someone they say is completely innocent of any crime. Got a lot to get into. Stick around. All these stories and more. It's happening right now on The Rush. Okay, before we get into our first story of the day, I got to address my audience straight to the camera. Folks, thank you so much. We were presented with several opportunities for how we wanted to run the channel this week. And I say we because while I'm on camera, you guys in the comment section, you guys at home, those that have written me private messages, literally from all over the world, left kind reviews. I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart to prove that humanity does exist and that we are all in this trying the best with the information we have. I thank you for reciprocating that. It's sort of an experiment we have going on here. The internet can be a hostile place. We can all be pretty judgy, but you guys continue to show up and bring humanity. And to that, I just say thank you. All right, let's go back to some of this gossip stuff. So Golden Bachelor Gary Turner says he's turning down the Bachelor in Paradise gig. There was speculation he would be there because it is Golden Bachelor along with Normal Bachelor. And he's saying not going to do it. His reasoning was, he says, he's been there, done that, and he's basically already dated the women that would be there. And my thought is, hey, there might be some younger ladies out there that need a sugar daddy. Why can't we have sugar daddies in paradise? Why not? We're all adults here, right? All right, we have a Luigi Mangione update. Wild stuff in his the murder trial of healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. I guess heart-shaped notes were smuggled into Luigi's a package of socks in his prison.
Before a court appearance last month, Luigi Mangione was allowed to change out of his jail uniform into regular clothes, including a new pair of Argyle socks. Prosecutors said secreted in the package were 2 personal heart-shaped notes, these here on the screen. One of them said, "No, there are thousands of people wishing you luck." It's not clear who sent those notes. And tonight, another new court document includes a catalog of items prosecutors say were found in a black backpack that Mangione had when he was arrested in Pennsylvania.
All right, so we'll be covering this trial. I don't know if I'll be in New York for it, but maybe. I mean, this is going to be a big one. And my only thought about this right now, a lot of people want to say, oh, what he did was wrong, if it was true that he murdered the healthcare CEO. And you go, yeah, of course it's wrong. That's why he's going to trial. We know it's wrong. The question is, though, not whether or not it's wrong to do that, but if this will happen again, if there'll be more of this sort of unrest as people, begin to realize that they're living in a no-win situation with the health insurance industry. We'll have to see. Well, Hawk Tuah girl, she's off the hook for hawking a meme coin. You guys might remember she duped her fans out of a lot of money, but I said this all along and I still believe it. I think she had no idea what she was peddling and she was probably the victim of someone taking advantage of her. But hey, just because she's an idiot, that's no excuse for the law. But I guess the SEC is saying they did a thorough investigation into her, and she's walking away clean, which I'm actually surprised. I thought she was gonna, get in trouble for something or another. I don't know. But even though she got away clean, it doesn't mean it's not a scam, and I'm sure it's going to take a huge hit to her moving forward. I mean, she was on the rise as the new it girl in the world of viral, memes and making a ton of money. But we'll have to see where she goes from here. Seriously, and my guess is not that far. But hey, who knows? Can she recover? Okay, I'm going to discuss the winner of Deal or No Deal Island. In the off chance that you were not on the final yet and you wanted to watch it, do me a favor and just skip ahead the next minute. I'm only going to take a minute on it, and we're going to start it right now. Okay, so this is your spoiler warning. If you don't want the winner of Deal or No Deal Island, it aired 2 days ago. I think that's ample time to talk about it. It was an epic finale, and I'm going to share it in 3, 2, 1. That's right. Deal or No Deal Island was the winner is David Jeanette. And by the way, he won $5.8 million. Let me tell you something. Even if you haven't seen this season and now you feel spoiled, go watch it. This is a good show. Deal or No Deal Island is a good show. I enjoyed season 1 and I loved season 2. Now, this guy won Survivor Australia, which is where you win, I guess, $500,000. So not quite as much as, the American Survivor. And seriously, what can you do with $500,000? Really? I mean, you can barely, get out of your parking garage with that kind of money. I'm kidding, folks. But either way, $5.8 million. And he turned down 300,000, 900,000, 1.2 million, 3. People were saying, Dave, what are you doing? And as the game kept on going, the only thing I know for certain is he has an Australian pair of brass balls. You got to watch the finale. We were literally yelling at the TV. My son was waking up. We couldn't shut up. It was an absolute it's such a crazy moment. And good on the casting directors for finding this guy because he's reality TV gold. And speaking of reality TV gold, regardless of what you think of him, Trump commands the news. He really can't stay out of the spotlight here. And now he's saying that the U.S. will go as far as we have to go to get control of Greenland. Hey, man, it ain't for sale, right? Greenland's owned by the Dutch, right? Don't they own it? Either way, Greenlanders speak about Trump's threat ahead of Vice President J.D. Vance's controversial visit to the Greenlandic capital. Here's what the locals have to say.
It has been like a huge wake-up call for everyone in Greenland.
We are not used to all the attention, so it's a lot to take in.
There's so many people panicking all about this. It's like they're feeling another colonizer would just take over us and what's going to happen and it's going to be so difficult to live here. But then there's the second part of us seeing potential new opportunities.
As our coming Prime Minister has said, we're open for business, but not for sale.
We cannot avoid the U.S., so we need to learn to dance with the U.S. We need to figure out how to get the best.
Dance together.
Yes, dance together. But right now, I feel like U.S. is forcing us to dance.
Yes.
Come, you're going to dance with me now. It would be so much nicer if they were like, would you like to dance?
What a great way to put it. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. This late. And by the way, Greenland is owned by the Kingdom of Denmark. My fault. My apologies. I'm an idiot. I'm an American and we don't know much about geography. Sorry, that's on me. It said it right there in the thing. I couldn't even read. Hashtag Denmark. My fault to my fellow Denmarkian friends. Did I say that right? My Denmarkos. God bless you guys. Please. I hope you enjoy the podcast. I'd love to hear from my friends in Denmark. What do you guys think about it, Denmark? I mean, you own Greenland, but hey, we're kind of like anti-colonialism over here, right? The UK wants to hold on to all these different countries, and we're like, no, we are our own. So, I mean, it'd be one thing to liberate Greenland, but it's not our job to do it. And again, like she said, you can't just force a dance on somebody. You got to court them. Do it by offering, some sort of industrial growth program. Bring some factories over there if that's what you want. But of course, let's just take care of our own U.S., right? We're so worried about all these other things. Let's get make sure everyone's, taking care of the homeless problem and clean water in Michigan. And, there's a lot of things I think we can work on over here, right? Maybe not. I don't know. Well, the Canadian Prime Minister, he's saying, hey, this relationship's over. He's done dancing with us. No more tangoing. He's moving on. Canadian Prime Minister says the old relationship we had with the United States States is over.
The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperations, is over. Yesterday, in the latest salvo in his trade war, President Trump again imposed unjustified tariffs on our nation in violation of our existing trade agreements. And our response to these latest tariffs is to fight, is to protect, and to build. We will fight the U.S. tariffs with retaliatory trade actions of our own.
All right, so same stuff we've heard before. I mean, look, by trying to impose these tariffs, we're actually strengthening these other countries because they're all coming together with a common enemy, you know? So either way, they say it's over between their relationship with the U.S., but hey, maybe times will change. Either way, you hate to see it. I mean, there is no reason in this world we should be picking fights with our best trading allies, none whatsoever. So to my Canadian friends out there, we still love you, and we're sorry about all of this. Okay, so I tell you what, let's dive into the Blake Lively story. We got some conspiracies and going to answer some questions you guys are having. We'll have that next. Now that there has been a little bit of a pause in the Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni case, there was just so many new documents coming out. We could, really couldn't sift through it all. A lot of people are asking questions about who is Tara Keat. Now, Tara Keat was mentioned by Megan Tuah in the New York Times article, but never made its way through the actual complaint. Why was that? Well, here's crisis manager at Reputation 911 responding to some questions about this sort of unknown company.
September, in which Tara Keat was cited as saying essentially that the media environment around Blake Lively, given all the negative press coverage, appeared to be manipulated.
So Tara Keat was a company that was meant, I guess by Blake Lively's side, to give a professional opinion that the traffic around Blake Lively was actually manipulated. So here's what they had to say, and credit to Team Justin Baldoni here on the subreddit for pulling this up. They said there's no mention of the company Tara Keat in Blake Lively's complaint or lawsuit. So where did Megan Tuah get that info about Tara Keat for her article? Now, of course, that she got it from Blake Lively. But here's the point. We men have to step up. A brand marketing consultant, Tara Keat, produced a report in August for Miss Lively that concluded she had likely been the object of a targeted multi-channel online attack, similar to one against Miss Heard, and that it was damaging her reputation. The report did not identify who was behind the attack, but by analyzing the entirety of Google's search index for Miss Lively's name, it found that 35% of the results also included a reference to Mr. Baldoni. This was highly unusual given the length of her career, the company said, and suggested that the media environment was being manipulated. A separate report by Miss Lively's hair care company, Blake Brown, concluded that the social media onslaught also had a negative effect on that business. So again, when it comes to proving defamation, you have to prove a loss in sales. Her product line launched in August with record-breaking sales, estimating that it lost as much as 78% in sales. So again, not exactly ironclad evidence. They're like, yeah, well, we came to the conclusion people don't like you, whether or not it's astroturfed or not. They didn't really come up with any answers there, and maybe that's why it didn't make its way to court. But boy, did it look good for that New York Times article.
And the insinuation, of course, is that it was manipulated by Justin Baldoni and his camp. Now, I've been doing sleuthing, daddy sleuthing possibly, around Tara Keat, and I found that they own the website reputationmanagement.com, which is also a separate company, it seems, which is likely how they attracted Blake Lively and her camp on supporting them for this research that they did. I also find that they edit Wikipedia pages, which is interesting. I wonder if Blake Lively has had her page edited.
So there's a good question. Now, if they're editing Wikipedia pages, people brought up our friend Shursta, who's had multiple edits to her Wikipedia page. Of course, she was one of the first, reporters to call out Blake Lively following their viral interview that went sour. So yeah, a good question about who Tara Keat is. Did I call it Parakeet? Parakeet, Tara Keat, who cares? Either way, I guess, and this is the world we live in, where there was enough juice to air it in the New York Times article, but not enough to get it to go through in the actual complaint. So I bet you this consultant, Tara Keat, is just happy they're not a part of this mess. Yet, could they be? Will there be an amendment by Justin Baldoni's side? Will they add new information? Some think so. Teresa Longo fans posted this. Our followers knew amid filming Blake Lively barged in an unprofessionally overstepped role as actress. Whispers say new texts may surface, unfavorable for Blake. A calculated diva careening a career. It ends with us drama is alienating Hollywood. Ryan Reynolds can't fix. So this really reads cryptic. I mean, I kind of like it, but it's like, all right, so they say whispers are saying new texts may surface. We'll have to see. We're waiting on the edge of our seats. We will get answers. And by the way, it could be today. Today's one of those days, you know what I mean? The oceans are nice and quiet, no storms out there, and all of a sudden a storm cloud comes in if we get the judge's response to all these motions to dismiss. We'll have to see if they come in. All right, we're going to take a hard left turn. There's only so much I can cover with Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni right now. But again, we will be here. We wait with anxious speculation as to what might come of that case. We'll see what the judge has to say. But let's move it along. So I'm going to share with you several stories about these insane deportations that are happening right now. Here's a wife pleading for answers after her husband, a Cuban with a Spanish passport, was detained by ICE and was taken to Chrome Detention Center. Video shows the moment where Eduardo Nunez Gonzalez was taken. I mean, this is just horrifying. He's out here.
Eduardo Nunez Gonzalez was taking out the trash. You see a man slowly walk, then run to approach him, detaining him just steps from his front door. Both Eduardo and Vilma are Cuban nationals with Spanish citizenship. Vilma is an American citizen, but Eduardo is not. He spent more than 7 years renewing work permits, trying to gain his own citizenship, but lost paperwork and delays have dragged out the process.
So that's the problem, right? He's trying to do the right thing, like a lot of people are. They're going through doing the paperwork. And what happens is you have people that say, my grandfather came here the right way. Well, we've sort of underfunded the judicial system that is meant for immigration. So people, that one couple in California spent 35 years trying to become citizens, and now they're getting deported. Some of these folks had dates, where they were going to have their interview process, and the next thing you know, they're shipped to El Salvador without any due process. I want to talk about this, and we covered this the last 2 episodes, but here's friends of the arrested Tufts student saying it could have been any one of us. Rumeysa Ozturk, she's a Tufts graduate student. She's getting her PhD. She wrote an article last year asking the university to divest from any funding they had from Israel, the Israeli government, because she protested the war. She was just speaking up in protest of a war. Can you imagine that? And now here's what her friends have to say after yesterday. She was essentially kidnapped right off the street by masked ICE men.
Of us, if they could take Rumeysa, who's the sweetest amongst us, what's that to say about anyone else? Honestly, when I think of her, I just think of this angelic presence, and that's why I feel like it's so ironic that she was treated in this way. I think it's completely ridiculous to link Rumeysa to Hamas because she wrote an article criticizing, again, the university for not listening to the student body when they passed certain resolutions regarding what was happening in Palestine. To equate that to supporting Hamas is completely ridiculous in my view.
And we'll call it out every single time because I like to cross my T's and dot my I's, and that's how we call balls and strikes here, to use 2 different analogies. We will call it out every time. They're going to continue to deport people by just saying they're supporting a terror organization. I mean, it's a scary time out there, right? I mean, imagine you can't speak out in a college campus. Now, what is being said by, the politicians are that, hey, she was supporting the terror organization, but they're not showing the proof thereof.
To Israel. The essay makes no mention of Hamas. But in January, President Trump signed an executive order saying non-citizens can be deported for taking part in pro-Palestinian protest. But another question people are asking is why ICE agents were in plain clothes. There's a guy walking down the street in a hoodie and before 6 other men approach her.
The sickening part to me was the 2 women in this video right here that said, calm down, it's okay, it's okay. They literally tried to de-escalate to not make a scene as they were about to deport her. And maybe these ICE agents have no idea, they're just told, here's your target, go get them, which is really scary if that's the world we live in. And as her friend said, if this is going to happen to them, then who next? And people have said this about the folks that were sent to the El Salvadorian prison who were supposed to be the Venezuelan gang members. One guy had a tattoo that was a tattoo in support of his autistic brother, and that was the tattoo they used to identify him as a gang member. And again, others, one guy worked at a barber shop, and one guy was a pro soccer player seeking asylum because, he was like a political refugee. So the stories that we're seeing are maybe the administration is sending, mainly maybe there's a mixture of gang members and then innocent folks, and maybe they're doing it to see how much people will protest this and what they can actually get away with. This is an absolute scary time. Scary time indeed. Now, to go back to this story we were covering before, we have a very interesting conspiracy theory as to Mike Waltz, the person who let in the journalist to the group chat. That next. All right, so here is the conspiracy theory. I've heard this floated by several people, that Mike Waltz actually knew what he was doing and welcomed the journalist into the group chat as a whistleblowing opportunity. I don't quite buy it, but it's interesting. Have a listen.
Waltz is a patriot, is a real U.S. patriot. Mike Waltz did it on purpose. I don't know why it took me so long to see it. Others have. He did it on purpose. He did it for us. There was no mistake. There's no person who worked in the Pentagon under Bush and under Cheney that makes a mistake like that. Sorry.
Now, I would generally agree, but the older you get, you can't use this new technology. They're all idiots. That's why you got like Ted Cruz accidentally tweeting, a porn search and things like that. They make bonehead mistakes. But that is an interesting theory. I just think, why would you out yourself and, as being that dumb when you could just privately be sneaking people, sneaking journalist information, which could be happening. It could be that he is, sneaking information to the journalist. I don't know. It's a sexy theory, but I'm not sold on it. Well, here's a story of someone fighting back. A Columbia student sued the U.S. this week to prevent her deportation and won, at least for now. She's from South Korea, but she's been here since she was 7. And she says it's preposterous to suggest her speech on a college campus poses serious foreign policy consequences for the U.S. Here's a little bit of that story.
A Columbia student sued the U.S. this week to prevent her deportation and won, at least for now. Homeland Security was trying to detain Yunsa Chun following her participation in campus protests against Israel's military actions in Gaza. The 21-year-old junior is a green card holder originally from South Korea who's lived in the United States since she was 7. A federal judge in New York issued a temporary restraining order Tuesday blocking authorities from detaining her or transferring her outside the district.
It is a very scary and daunting proposition that the Secretary of State can single out a college student and say, I don't like the content of what you are saying, and you must leave the country, especially our client, who has lived in this country since she was 7 years old and is a high school valedictorian, junior at an Ivy League university. It is absolutely preposterous to suggest that her speech on a college campus poses serious foreign policy consequences.
So this is what's interesting, right? This is how they're justifying it. They're saying, look, you didn't do anything illegal. You're just not entitled to that free speech. And a lot of people would argue, well, in order for us to protect free speech and due process, the best way to do that is to protect it for all people, not just illegal immigrants, not, everybody, whether you have a student visa, you're here illegally, or you are a U.S. citizen. Protecting the fabric of our democracy shouldn't be based on whether you're born here or not. It should be, if you are here, you have these inalienable rights. And that's how it has been in the past. So here's Marco Rubio. Talk about a bootlicker, right? The whole presidential election, he tells us how bad Trump is when he's running for office. And now because, of course, little Marco doesn't win, he now falls into line. Here's his answer from this journalist questions about, hey, these people, have they been charged with any crimes? Have they done anything illegal? Don't we want other countries' smart and bright people, a valedictorian who's been here since 7, don't we want them in our country? Won't they be providing maximum value by, continuing their education and being a part of, the medical community? And, because here we have in Tufts a PhD medical student essentially being sent to a detention center. What's the crime there?
In Boston was detained and handcuffed on the street by plainclothes agents. A year ago, she wrote an opinion piece about the Gaza war. Could you help us understand what the specific action she took led to her visa being revoked?
Yeah,
and what was your State Department's role in that process?
We revoked her visa. It's an F1 visa, I believe.
How does he stand up with no spine? I don't understand. How do they prop him up?
We revoked it, and here's why. And I'll say it again. I said it everywhere. Let me be abundantly clear, okay? If you go apply for a visa right now, anywhere in the world, let me just send this message out.
We are not anywhere in the world. We're the goddamn United States of America.
Apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus.
So anybody who's against this war, anybody who against the war where they want Palestine to, and by the way, Israel as well. It's not one side versus the other. So many of these people want peace for Palestine. They want peace for the Israelis. They want peace. They want peace for humans. But because they're saying they want peace on a college campus and because they don't have a green card, you're going to take that away from them? I think people may be charged with war crimes based on some of the things that are going on. And I think they understand that they are so deep into this shit right here that they can't back down now. They are double down in this mess. And I mean, this is ugly, ugly stuff that in the country that prides itself on freedom of speech, freedom of peaceful protest. And you might say, Dave, but what if the protest wasn't peaceful? Well, who was arrested? If people weren't arrested, if you can't physically see a crime somebody committed, I'm sorry. I'm not a psychic who can look like a Minority Report at a crime someone committed and go, that was the person. If they were not charged with a crime, they did not commit one as far as the law is concerned, and they cannot be deported for a crime they didn't commit. So just by saying they're part of a movement where some people flipped a car or threw a Molotov cocktail, just because someone else did that, all these people can be deported? Make it make sense.
We're not going to give you a visa. If you lie to us and get a visa and then enter the United States and with that visa participate in that sort of activity, we're going to take away your visa. And once you've lost your visa, you're no longer legally in the United States, and we have a right, like every country in the world has a right, to remove you from our country. So it's just that simple. I think it's crazy. I think it's stupid for any country in the world to welcome people into their country that are going to go to your universities as visitors. They're visitors. And say, I'm going to your universities to start a riot.
And this other lady at Columbia has been a visitor of this country since she was 7. How despicable that these are the fights they are trying to pick. How despicable. So we have people standing up. I mean, here we have activists standing up against ICE. They're making sure their neighbors know their rights. They have megaphones and they are following ICE around, letting their neighbors know what their rights are. Have a listen to this.
You do not need to talk to them.
You don't have to answer their questions.
You do not have to answer any questions. Let them slide the warrant under the door.
You know, I mean, it's just, imagine, really, put yourself in the shoes of these people. And I have some people, most people, we've gotten more love than we've ever gotten ever on this channel this week. So much love from people understanding that this is such an important, pivotal moment to be discussing this. But I've got some people saying, Dave, stick to comedy. Don't cover this. Stick to The Bachelor. Don't cover this. Stick to old Justin Baldoni, don't cover this. This is the ultimate case study of justice. What side do you want to be on? We don't spend any time with Doge cutting the Department of Defense. All we do is talk about building $1 trillion upgrades to the Pentagon, cutting taxes for the rich. How is this helping lower grocery prices? How is this helping create new jobs? How is this? Come on, folks. Now, don't get me wrong. Let's reform the immigration system. Let's beef up the judges at the border to make sure everyone gets a fair and quick, speedy trial and all that. But how does terrorizing people, some of which have been here for 35 years as a married couple, trying to get in the right way, a green card holder who's been here since they were 7, how does this make America great again? My good pal Chad is doing the Lord's work. He's the host of the Game of Roses podcast, but he also has a podcast called The Necessary Conversation. And it's just showcasing how ridiculously detached we are from the people that understand empathy, grace, humanity, and those that just say, get him out. My way or the highway. This is Chad and his sister talking to his mom and his dad about this issue. Have a listen.
To seek asylum? Because one of these guys was doing that.
You can't seek asylum.
Why?
Because we're not going to be home back. You guys are missing the whole point. Policy has changed. We are no longer going to be the home for the dredges of the world.
But don't you think these people should have some ability to have...
By the way, dredges of the world. We had a PhD student, a valedictorian. We had a professional soccer player. Yeah, real dredges of the world, these folks are.
Due process? They can literally, at this point, what they did this week...
No, they can go home. They can go home and die.
So no one should get due process then. What if they make a mistake, as they have done this very week?
The only people who are going to get due process are the people Trump says is okay.
All of those people on that airplane, it said that
End of story.
They had investigated, they'd done the
You
due
quit your
diligence,
whining.
and they were on that airplane for a reason.
The reason is Trump made this bold claim when he was running that he's going to deport 5 million people or whatever.
So now they got to find those people.
Exactly. And if you just don't look right, if you have a tattoo they don't like or don't understand, you're getting on a plane to go to El Salvador, to a mega prison.
Good.
But these people aren't, in some cases, these people aren't gang members.
We don't care.
These are crimes against humanity.
I don't give a shit. Humanity needs to lose a few bods.
And look, I live in a world where humanity will rise up from this chaos, this fear-based rhetoric that has divided us. That's the world I live in, and I believe in it, especially after this week. I've never felt more like I'm on the right side of a story. And that story is calling out the people that are ripping apart our Constitution, that are ripping apart due process, that are conflating terrorist groups for, not those that are anti-war protesters that are now getting deported, that were living in our country, being the valedictorian, working their ass off to contribute to society. Those are the types of people we should not be kicking out. Those are the types of people we should embracing because they're part of our country's identity, this melting pot, this beauty, this beautiful experiment we all have here of people coexisting. Now, I understand a lot of what went down with this El Salvadorian nonsense, right? This flight, it was all propaganda video. They did it to shoot they don't care what they needed to fill seats. They needed brown heads to shave. And that's exactly what they got. And what are we finding now? We're finding out that some of those folks, they're not even, right here, ICE deported someone to El Salvador mega prison over paperwork error, and a professional soccer player, and a gay hairstylist that had the wrong tattoo, and a guy who had a tattoo in support of autism because his brother has autism. These are the folks that they needed to sit out and play their little, culture war game so that they had a video to share. And will it deter people from coming into our country? Absolutely it will. But for every person it deters for coming over illegally, think of all of the people, the bright people that came to our country to study, to enrich their education and be a part of that American dream. Think about of all of those people it deters. The collateral damage is something we're going to find and face for a very long time. Ask our friends in Greenland, ask our friends in Canada. And I'm just going to end by saying this, and we'll have another episode, of course, this afternoon, but on this Friday, just remember the privilege that we all have to be lucky enough for most of us to be born in this country. Those that didn't have that privilege, that fought hard to get here, whether it be through a process of asylum or coming as a student, or even those that fought to get here illegally because that's the only way they knew how as they were escaping a war-torn area or a situation that wasn't right for their family. Just understand, these folks that have fought, and worked these terrible, tough jobs, the agriculture industry, backbreaking work, also that they could put food on their family's table and survive. Just remember, if you were in that situation, if your back was against the wall, you do the same fucking thing. And we need to understand, look, I get it. We have these boundaries that are set up. I get it. But rather than ripping things apart and breaking the system. Let's find a way to make the system work. Let's invest more money in the judicial system so that we can, look at the people that are here and those that are waiting for their papers to come through so that we can really move the system along. But instead, we have folks in overcrowded detention centers. Some detention centers meant for 4,000 people housing 20,000. The stories that are gonna come out of this, that are happening right now in places we don't even know, are gonna be horrifying. And that's blood literally on our hands. So what do we do about it? We keep talking. We aren't afraid to use our First Amendment rights to say when something's wrong. Say it out loud from the chest. Say it out loud. Tell your friends. Write to your representatives. Do what you can do to say we will not stand by this. We will not be complicit. And here on the Rush Hour podcast, we're going to continue to share these heartbreaking stories. And we're going to share the stories of the judges striking it down. So it's a tight needle to thread, trying to talk pop culture, things that truly do not matter in a time where there is so much that does. And we're going to continue to do it all. If that means the podcast has to be an extra 12 minutes long, then so be it. You could take your time complaining about it, or you could just understand not every story is going to be for you. And I'm just going to bring you what really irks me and what really kind of gets me going. That's the only barometer I have. Is this interesting to me? Then I need to share it. And one thing I won't do, looking back on this time, is think that I stood around silently. And I got to be honest with you, numbers-wise, the podcast has never had more views or downloads. So for that reason alone, I appreciate you guys letting me into your home, into your ears, into your workplace, your bus, your car, wherever it is you might be walking the dog. Thank you so much for that support and for continuing to share us with your friends, giving us nice reviews. It means the world to me, to be quite honest, to know that you guys are here and this conversation isn't falling on deaf ears. All right, we'll have some more content coming your way. It could be a big day. We'll see if the judge spills any new tea in the Baldoni case. Otherwise, I'll be back this afternoon. As always, I'm Dave Neal, and this is The Rush.